Welcome to this episode of your Spiritual Business Coach podcast. I am your host, Ashu. I am the coach for light leaders ready to own their fierce self expression and build audiences that trust you with their eyes closed. We do this by integrating feline energy, which helps you birth match made in heaven offers and whisker licking good marketing. And in today's episode, I am going to share with you how I helped my client release her inner wildcat and create uncensored, unfiltered content. And I have my lovely client right here on this podcast with me. Welcome, Akshaya, to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you, Ashu. It's so great to be here.
I love that you are here and I love that you're all dressed up because that really shows that wildcat that we're about to talk. And I want you to share on the podcast what is the kind of work that you do, who are you, who do you work with, what kind of results do you get clients, and if someone's listening to this podcast, allow them to tap into your energy and be like, oh, I also need this work.
Okay. So when you ask who are you, it's a very different question. Like it has a very different answer for me because I started out somewhere, I ended up reaching somewhere, but I'm not uh, regretful. I'm not guilty for every turn that my business took, every turn that I took on my way here. So I am a certified life coach, but I'm much more than that. I am an intuitive mentor. I am a divine channel. So I've been working on my intuitions. I've been working on my psychic gifts for the past year and a half, and that's something that I stumbled upon, or I should say, it was more than a calling. So when I started working on that, I understood that all the intuitive gifts that I've been having as a child, it is something not to be kept as a secret. It is something not to be kept as, you know, very hush hush thing. It is something that needs to be out there. And when I started streamlining it in a manner where I can help my clients with that, there was nothing more than that I wanted to. The minute I integrated my intuition, the minute I integrated my psychic gifts with my coaching, the transformation it took, the leap it took from there, it's just entirely different. So as an intuitive mentor, what I do is I help people find their spiritual footing. Spirituality is something that's a word that's getting uh, roped into a lot of times in a lot of conversations, but I'm not very sure if people truly understand the essence of it, the power, the value that the word contains, and people are drawn to different misconceptions, misunderstandings. So I'm here to clear that for people and actually help them tap into their spiritual roots, whatever that means for them, however that means for them. And what it helps them is with by doing this, it helps them in a way that they don't have to feel lonely anymore. They don't have to feel alone or misunderstood or anything like that. Because when you tap into your spiritual roots, when you tap into the energies of your guides, your deities, your angels, or even if you are someone who's not into any particular form of uh, devotion or worship, if you still feel the universal energies, that's also completely fine. But any which ways, you will not feel lonely again. Uh, it's a connection that will make you feel alive, a connection that will make you feel that you are yourself. You don't have to pretend with what you need to be, what you need to say, what I can't say. So that is one thing that I really love helping my clients with. And I also help them unleash their inner divine feminine. Again, another word, another topic that's spoken about a lot, but what it truly means for each of them, it could be very different for each of them. So helping them find what it means for them and not having to follow a certain herd of uh, the concept's meaning. So these are predominantly what I do. But apart from this, I also provide intuitive readings with and without oracle cards. So sometimes I just tap into my own intuitions, my own connection, and I help them provide clarity and guidance. And sometimes I do feel drawn to my decks. I love my decks. So this is one thing that I do. And one other very close to my heart thing that I help my clients with is definitely reconnecting them with their inner child. It's something that I have been working on even before I became a life coach, even before I became all of those things. That's the first starting point for me. I've been working with my relationship with my inner child for the last 4 years, for 5 years now. And that's something that's very close to my heart, to help each and everyone who walk into my world, even if they sign up for a very different course, even if they sign up for a very different training, I ensure to connect them back to their inner child in a manner where they themselves don't know they're connecting with their inner child. It's not a direct process, because there could be a lot of resistance to go back and visit something that you don't even know that exists. So I do it in a very subconscious manner to ensure that they are sorted by all means. Like, they have a form of themselves that is there for them. They have a connection with the divine. So at all places they are secure, and they are, like, feeling absolutely peaceful with who they are.
I love that this time you've shared such a variety of things and they're all connected, because I remember when we talked first and I looked at your profile, it just said life coach, just a life coach. That, and then the way you said, I am a certified life coach, but I'm so much more than that. And there are so many people listening to this and they feel the exact same way. They write life coach in their bio, in their name section on Instagram and their LinkedIn and everything. And then they feel so limited by it. They feel like this is not who I am, but this is the only title that I know of. And I love how you've owned up to it. What is the title you have currently on your Instagram?
Intuitive mentor and divine channel.
Now that listen to it, that is so much better than life coach. And I am so glad that we've shifted you from there. And I also want to put out for anyone listening, if you are my client, or if you ever see me use examples of Hindu, or Hindu mythology, that comes from her, the one sitting in front of me. The way I have learned from you in my coaching container, it's not that you've learned from me only. I've learned so many stories from you. I've picked up so many valuable lessons, especially around group coaching program. I really want to share it, where you said that even if I signed 2 people, I would be happy because Krishna only had one student. And I have taken that. I'm sorry, but I have taken that and I tell it to my clients now, and they're like baffled by the
I
thought of
took it
it.
from my dad, and I think he heard it from somewhere. So I'm glad it's still
Yes, it is
relevant. Even after
circulating.
all these years, it's so relevant.
I'll tell you, like, these are like a couple of stories I've picked up from you, and they've helped me so much. One is this, that I have more students than Krishna. I'm like baffled at this thought, and my clients, when I tell them, I've told this to a couple of people, and they're like, oh my god, I never thought of it that way. I'm like, I know, right? I also didn't think of it that way. Another one is, Hanuman did not question himself. Can he fly over this? Can he go all the way? He just went. He doesn't think, can he hold a mountain on his pinky finger? He just does. And that level of self-determination and faith in your abilities, I'm like, that's the example that I'm going to use, because I have been to Hanuman temples when I was a kid every Tuesday without a fail with my dad. And the bundi ka prasad is my favorite ever sweet dish. Every other thing makes me want to puke, but that one thing, I wouldn't want to give it to the people who sit outside the temple wanting. I wouldn't want to give it as a kid. I'm like, no, I bought it. I want to keep it. So that connection with Hanuman is so strong. And when you share that, I was like, yes, because when you're scared, the Hanuman Chalisa just comes out of your mouth. Even if you just know the first 2 lines, you just start saying it. And I have learned so much from you, Akshaya. You are this vessel of energy and connecting me back to peacock energies with the Krishna program that we worked on. I am just truly wonderful. Like, it is truly wonderful. The gifts that you have, it just blows my mind. And I'm so grateful and honored that I get to work with a soul like yours.
Thank you. And I have to, at this juncture, I definitely have to mention my grandmother, who is the most dearest person in my life. Like, even on Diwali, I think I missed her very badly. But she is the reason. If even a percent of who I am is spiritual, or has the ability to surrender to the divine or has any of those spiritual qualities, I owe it absolutely to her, because she was the one. She never boxed me into saying, this is how it is, this is what you should do. There was never any sort of conditioning that was there. She gave me all the basics of what devotion can look like, what surrender can look like, and she allowed me to just roam around and find whatever suited me. And whenever I came back to her with saying, I had this dream, I saw Krishna in my dream, I saw Hanuman in my dream, she'd encourage that. She would never dismiss that, saying, oh, that's just your imagination or something like that. She's always encouraged me. So she's always made sure that I don't lose that side of mine. So anything that I do today, anything that is connecting me with who I am, all credits, all love to that one soul. That even I tell my mom, even you can't love me the way my grandmother has loved me. So to that soul, to that one person, I can't say enough amount of thanks or love.
I love that you mentioned it because I think this is a very beautiful moment to cherish, especially as someone who's spiritual. Because a lot of spiritual entrepreneurs, they don't feel supported in their families. They don't feel that they can share what they do. Even now, I cannot talk like, you know what, I am on the like channeling spree right now. I am downloading these codes. I cannot talk like this. It feels like I cannot talk like this because people will judge me. And to have someone who's supportive of you in this process and actually encouraging you and showing you the path, it's just a blessing to have. Which, on that note, the things that I've learned from you, the way you have expanded me and I have expanded you, I want to find out. Could you tell me what brought you to me? What was it that made you want to work with me? How did you find your way to me?
Okay, how I found my way to you was when you had posted something about your birthday, and you had taken the birthday wish fulfillment reading, something from Pia, and you had tagged her in one of your stories, which she reshared. So I was working with her at that point. Again, one another mentor that I'm extremely grateful for having tapped all of these things in me.
And in the container that I was working her to help birth. So we were working together to birth that container. And now there were so many people who worked in that container that are coming to me now.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh my God.
So it's like grandma, mom, child, that sort of a lineage. So you had tagged her, which she had reshared. So that's how I found you, and I started following you. I also got your baby aloe deck and the journal, which I have here. So when I started when I wanted to reach out to you for working with you was your launch power up container, and the moment I saw the story, I was like, oh my god, what is this? Like, again, the inner child part of me just jumped. It was like so excited. I never knew that a logo or a graphic could have Mario and other cartoon in it. From a business point of view, like for someone who's an entrepreneur, who's a business coach, who's doing all those things to help others grow their business, the logos seem very very playful, like very me. So I was like, yeah, now that's something I want to work with, and that's the container I signed up with you last year around this time, and it was just the energy of the graphic, which was unapologetically you. There was no pretense that it should the graphic should look professional. It has to have certain colors, the cuts, how we normally box ourselves again. That graphic was out of the box, out of every conventional method of a graphic. So I thought, okay, fine, that's something that I needed. And that's how I found you.
I love it. I love it. And the way you've explained it already points out how your sales pages, your story slides for an offer, your messaging for an offer, your graphics for an offer, all of those are, when you channel them properly, they contain codes that are automatically perceived by the people they are supposed to be perceived by. And in a way that is unexplainable, in a way that is like, I don't know what it is about this specific offer or this specific person, but I need to be here. And that is because you've channeled it and you've coded that energy in that graphic, let's say for Launch Power Up, because it actually came to me after watching the Mario movie. I went, watched the Mario movie, came back, and I was like, oh, let's do this. And I was like, okay, great, let's do it. And then the kind of results that container has created, the how much fun I had making it is what I absolutely love. And I love that you shared that the boxes that we put ourselves in, because we are always thinking there is a specific way to launch, there is a specific slide format that you're supposed to follow, there is a specific this is for you if, this is not for you if, because that's not how things work. Because right now the container, my one-on-one coaching, which has up leveled so much since we last worked together, but my one-on-one coaching is now called the embodied feline. And when I was channeling it, it said to me, you are going to write a poem. I haven't held a poem pen in
Wow.
years. Okay. Last time I published my poems were in 12th grade.
Okay.
It, and that's like 3 years of bachelor's, 1 year of full-time business, 1.5 years of me doing my master's, and that's like 5.5 years I haven't written a poem ever, even thought of it. And I wrote a poem, and my spirit of offer was like, you are going to post this poem, this is, and you're going to have it on your sales page, and you're
That,
going to let, I know, right? What do you think of that?
that's that's just so beautiful. That's just who you are. And I think people, when they find that in a sales page, that itself stands out. You don't have to. I don't think you'll need to do any tough marketing. I think that itself would make people like, I want to do something like that maybe in my sales page.
I know, right? So they like put this poem, and it came as a block of text which I had to turn into a poem, and I did it. And they're like, when someone will read this poem, there are going to be images that flash in their head, memories that they are reminded of, and then they will, if that happens for them, then they are supposed to work with you. If it doesn't happen for them, they're not supposed to work with you. I was like, this is,
That's a great qualifying criteria, like very unique qualifying criteria.
I know, right? It's not like this is for you if you have this, you are making this. No, this is for you if you read this poem and something goes in your head. That is how spiritual businesses are supposed to operate unapologetically and in their fierce self expression or soul expression.
Yeah.
So, yes, you found me through Launch Power Up, and I loved working with you. The dedication you've shown to tell me that you will wake up at 3:30 a.m. to match my time zone. I was like, I wouldn't even be up by that time in my time zone. So that was just lovely. And I take that as a gift and a quality that I expect in my clients now. So you've increased the
Oh my
bar for my ideal clients, that this is how you show up.
Okay, I'm glad that I raised the bar, but I'm sorry to all Ashu's clients who are like, okay, now Ashu's expecting these things. I'm so
Because
sorry, but I'm not so sorry.
I used to think that, okay, I had this thing as well. That's why I say that when you're working in a container with a coach, it's not just the person who has signed up who receives it, but also the person who is giving, who receives something in return apart from the money. Is that I used to think I had some clients who wake up late. And being in a different time zone, I don't want to work late because that would be like 7, 8 p.m. in my time, and I don't want to work at that time. But I was adjusting. And then I see you. And I'm like, you know what? I am not going to adjust. This is the time, and this I have reached this point where people wake up or early for me. And now I am seeing that happen where my clients have shifted their sleep schedule to healthy sleep schedules, and they're waking up around a time where they can meet me in my time zone. Not
That's beautiful.
3:30 a.m. though, but still a working time zones, and that's like
I would have woken up like if you had given me a
I
chance
know.
to
And
wake
I don't want you to do that because I know the dedication you have. And after Launch Power Up, I know we worked on it. It expanded your skill sets and how you loved launching. What was your experience of Launch Power Up?
It was very different. Like I was not someone who was very keen towards launching. Like I always had jitters around launching and to put my offers out there. And like you said, how there's a poem sitting in your sales page. Likewise, the different routes that my business has taken, the different things that I channel, the different things that come through as offers, it's not always, it has not been always easy for me to point out the tangibles that I can provide for the world. clients as a transformation. But in Launch Power Up, inside Launch Power Up, you made me see that there is a way to connect the intangibles and tangibles. And even apart from the tangibles, there is I mean, you made me see that the intangibles is also as valuable as the tangibles, and it is just how you can put it out there. And I think that's where my content actually started shifting. So I now enjoy launches. I am not scared of it anymore. I am actually, uh, you know, I've been connecting with my guys saying, yeah, throw any offer, anything. I know how to streamline. I know I can work with it. I'm not scared for whatever that you're throwing at me. I think at some point my guys are also happy that I am meeting them halfway instead of running away saying, okay, no, don't give me all these big things. I can handle any amount of uh, work or any depth of work that is thrown at me right now. I think that confidence, that courage is what I got after working with you.
I love that. This is something I literally said on a discovery call to a client, like a potential client. She said to me that someone promised her, a coach promised her, that she will start making money from the very first month. And it was a big amount, and she invested and she did not make money, and she felt very drained. And when I'm on the discovery call, I'm like, you know what? I don't promise my clients they'll make money. But one thing I'm going to promise you is you are going to never feel underconfident after this. You walk out with that confidence that I got this, whatever you want, whether it's quoting your price, whether it is putting out an offer you've always wanted to create, whether it's creating a content piece. That is a
One other thing, one other thing I forgot inside Launch Power Up was the minute we did the offer structure, I just boomed my pricing from what I thought to it was almost like 2x of when it came out as the price point, it was 2x. And you know, I started looking at my offer at myself with a different lens of self-worth. Until then it was I was like drowning in self-doubt, drowning in, okay, who's gonna buy this? Like I was thinking only from a place of buying and selling kind of thing. And now I was like, this is who I am, this is what my offer is, this is what I am going to offer. And it makes no sense to price it at something that seemingly looks affordable. It would be a disservice to me, disservice to the offer, disservice to an entire transformation that someone is going to have. That's not fair to anyone. And that clarity, I think I got after the very first call, the very first 10-15 minutes of our call. I was like, I'm increasing the pricing. This is not what I want. So that's a huge thing for someone like me who always likes to play safe in everything. I think that cord that just got cut within like 10-15 minutes.
Wow, I love how you've put it, and I'm so grateful that you've shared it that way. And I love the line that you said, disservice to myself, disservice to the offer, disservice to the transformation someone will get. I want everyone to tattoo that in their heads. And then I want you to tell me, how did we end up in a one-on-one coaching container from a launch power up, which was like 2 weeks of working with me, getting a taste of what it is like to work with me, to a 3-month full-blown coaching container?
Yeah, I sort of manifested that without even knowing that I manifested that. But that was seriously the best decision that I've made for my business this year. To have you know worked to work with you in a one-to-one level, because the kind of things that happen inside that container is nothing short of magical. Because what I came inside with and what I went out with were like completely different things, but in a very depth rich way. I came inside the container saying, thinking that okay, I'm going to learn about business, I'm going to learn about marketing. I went out learning more about myself. I went out learning more about what my business is here for, what I'm here to do for it, what my business is here to do for itself. And I think that's something that I've never experienced. And even inside Launch Power Up, I think I gave you the nickname of uh, you know bestie.
I was going to say that when you were saying, I was like, oh, I just suddenly reminded you are the person who gave me that title of a business best friend, like a business bestie, and told me to sign off as your spiritual business bestie. And I was like, oh, I love that. And I started signing off my emails like that because you gave me that title.
Yes, it came as a download during our very first call, and the entire 3 months, I still don't know how 3 months can fly by so quickly. I think it is because of the bestie energy that was going on. It never, not even one call felt like, okay, I'm meeting my business coach, I'm here to learn. And it was more like I was thinking out aloud. I was bouncing off my ideas with you, and not one single thing that we discussed inside the container felt foreign to me in any sense, even if when I was working on a brand new container, which is something that even I never saw something like that, and then I was facilitating something like that. I was working on launching something like that. It was a very heartfelt experience, I should say. And the kind of turns my business started taking after that. By the end of the 3 months is when I realized completely that I am ready to let go of my life coach identity. Although I still use it uh, in public places when people ask me, what do you do? It's easy for me to tell them that I'm a life coach rather than sitting and giving them a lecture on what is an intuitive mentor, what is intuition. I am not giving all those things for public speech. So I still, use the tag life coach to make it simplified for people. But wholeheartedly, I was ready to let go of the identity as a life coach and actually step into my unapologetic self in the truest sense. And even the containers that I worked to launch inside when we were working together, they also started taking shifts as to not being a group program, but being a one to one. And that's something that I have learned as a spiritual entrepreneur is that you don't have to take so much pressure on the kind of structure that you want for the program. The program has its own spirit, its own soul. It has its own guides to let it flow the way it wants to, and somewhere you'll have to play the dance. Like I make a move and you make a move. I think the dance between you and the offer is a better way to approach things rather than holding on to your fort and taking things so personally, taking things so from a place of attachment, saying, no, I wanted it to be a group program, it will be a group program. Having that kind of resolve only makes it difficult with you and the offer. So the Krishna container actually turned out to be a one to one. And that was something I did not see coming. Otherwise, I would have made the launch differently, but it was supposed to be launched that way. The launch was supposed to be aligned that way. So I think, yeah, the amount of transformation that I had, I personally had, and as well as I had as an entrepreneur after working 3 months with you was just something else that I can't completely articulate it. So I think I've made little sense about how amazing it was to work with you.
Absolutely. I want to touch on something that you said, but I think you've already answered my question in a way. Because my whole point of this podcast is to show people how they're putting up a tape of self-censorship on themselves. And they think that self-expression is only through content. And people are so engrossed in content and just thinking content. They're not thinking that their self-expression is also in terms of offers that they are creating, or the way they are showing up, the way they're calling themselves and positioning themselves, the way they're structuring their offers, the way they talk to someone who comes to them and asks about an offer and then says, I do not want to join right now. How do you talk to them at that point? That all is a tape of it's going through this tape of self-censorship. Oh, you don't want to join, right? It's okay, no worries. And then just like trying to be a good girl, sort of. That is where I want to go. Like, a lot of people step into business thinking, I have to be a good girl. They're not able to let go of that I have to people please, I have to be there for my clients all the time, I have to create posts that do not offend people, that do not cause a backlash from other entrepreneurs. And I want your take on it. Have you had those thoughts before we stepped into the container? What were your thoughts around this?
I always admire people who did hot takes, who did, who put out bold content pieces that resonated with them. I never found it offensive or too bold or something, because I know what it is to be boxed as too much, too good. Too I have been growing up constantly feeling too whatever that is. So whenever I saw someone who broke free from that, I really loved it. And but like you said, when I stepped into business, my content again was a safe game. I'm usually that person, or I used to be that person who played safe with every single thing in my life, and my content was no different. I used to stick with the educational pieces, the awareness pieces, the colors and everything used to be like so muted, so this thing. And I won't say that I didn't enjoy it. I did enjoy it, but somewhere there was this kitsch kitsch in me saying, "No, Akshaya, this is not you. This is a version of you that people want you to be, but this is not who you want to be. You know who you are. You know how you function. You know how you think. You're much more uh, emotionally intellectual than you let on. So maybe you should probably work on those things." And I never found a way to put all of those things in a content. Like I would have never imagined putting out a content piece like a carousel saying, self-determination, something featuring Hanuman and having a Hanuman logo. I never imagined that that would be a content piece. But that is the kind of content piece that I always resonated with, that I always wanted to do. So when I got to do it, it was like a whole other different experience.
Is there a content piece, if you were to look at your profile? I'm going to give you some time if you need to. If you look at your profile, is there a content piece that you can think of that has a title that's very clickbaity or like very sassy, and you never thought you would do it, but when we were working together, maybe you did it then or after working with me?
Yes, I actually there's actually one thing. I'm just looking at it.
I do
Um,
see the post of the Hanuman one, which says how to get into whatever it takes mindset
yes,
featuring
yes,
Hanuman.
that one.
I love
That
it.
But the one content piece that when we worked together that I really loved, the title card was, one thing I do with all my clients is I trigger them. Now that's a content piece that I never thought I would be the one to put up. But again, it's not a clickbaity content piece. I do trigger my clients in my sessions in a manner where I hold a lot of space for them. I provide a very loving energy, but sometimes for them to confront whatever is going inside, for them to confront whatever they need to fear. Just a minute, just a minute.
That's all right. That makes sense. I'm going to read out that content piece in the time being. So, the content pieces, you read that right. Triggering you need not always mean triggering something negative. Triggering my client with a loving energy will help them reflect on things they have put under the carpet and just don't want to open up again. And I love that you are out there, and then you use your analogies like the stories. Krishna challenged Arjuna to face his doubts and emotions, directly pushing him to faces in a battle. That shows a post that is you, instead of you creating a very basic educational post which sounds like, here are 5 ways I help you.
I can never imagine doing that. I mean, when I say educational post, I don't mean in that way. But what I meant was sticking to the usual, what do you say, structure. The what do you call that? The outline, the template. Yeah, template is the word I was looking for. Sticking to the templates of what an educational post should look like, what an awareness post should look like. But I think, anyone who's walking into my profile, anyone who's it's like I think I heard you saying it, like when someone, or I don't know where I heard it, but when someone walks into, I think you, when someone walks into our home and they see our room, the places that it is filled with photos, trophies and everything. It's all you don't put something there that is not you, that is not related.
Yeah,
I
I
think
talked about it in Cosmic Sales Elixir.
yes, yes. So
Yes.
this, even an educational course can be infused with my understanding of spirituality, my understanding of the Indian scriptures, because that is what I grew up with. That is who I am, and it's been years that I boxed that side of me inside inside a dark room and said, no, people don't like it, or people find you too pious, too devotional. No, no, you should not come out. And now that I am fully accepting and fully understanding of how powerful that version of me is, who's the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing, it's only fair that I give her the pedestal, I give her the the chance to lead it. And I'm okay following that version of me who's like, I want to take this in this route. I'm totally okay with it. And I think that makes my content makes me uniquely me.
Yes.
Again, one other thing about content that I understood is it doesn't matter if it is not about the numbers, Ashu. According to me, content is how many likes, how many comments, how many saves or shares. You are expressing something that belongs to you out there, and it's gonna be there until you decide to delete it or archive it. It's not gonna vanish like your 24-hour stories, or nobody's gonna take it. So it is going to be there for as long as you want. And whenever people visit your profile, whenever people come to you, they have a chance to looking at who you are before they think, okay, fine, oh, this is a different idea to what I was thinking. This person's thinking is nice. Maybe I can, like how I saw your graphic of launch pop-up and saying, this is a very unique thinking to put a Mario in this. Somebody who, let's say, has a spiritual background just like mine is looking up for someone who is like them, wanting to help them out, and they land up in my profile. Oh, she's speaking about Krishna. Oh, she's speaking about Hanuman. Oh, she's speaking about this. Maybe she's the one I want. And you are making space for that to happen by being unapologetic in your content. So I don't think why I don't see a reason why people should not be themselves in the content that they create.
I love that. Now, the main part of this podcast episode, the name is How I Helped My Client. Okay. I want you to tell me, how did you work through these things that you just mentioned? That you mentioned that you were able to own up to yourself, what you are, who you are, what you do, and actually be creating that type of content. How did you work through it inside the coaching container?
Majorly, I saw how you function with your business and how you show up for your clients, how you've been showing up for me. And that energy, as an empath, I can grasp people's energy. So when I grasp that energy of yours, I sort of made sense as to, okay, this is something I can work with, this is something I want to. And you gave me the space to be whatever that I am, however that I am. It didn't matter. I remember in one of our calls, I was sitting in my nightgown and I was in the lowest of my energy that morning, but it didn't matter. And the other day I was, like all dressed up, all decked up, right before I had to go for a function or something. So right from the way I was able to show up in sessions to the way to anything that I brought to the table for discussion and everything, you held space in the truest form of holding space. You were absolutely non-judgmental, absolutely giving me the space to lead the calls, lead the discussion in a way where I felt seen, I felt heard, I felt understood. I felt like, okay, this is something that I want. And because of that, because of those 12 weeks of, I think it was sort of a retraining, a reprogramming that I did to myself, saying there is someone out there who actually can see me for who I am. And those 12 weeks of doing that, reprogramming myself, helped me let go of certain versions of me to step into who I was, like, completely. And there were people, family, and some clients also, who thought that my stepping up into this new version was really bold, really courageous. But I did not see it that way. I That might be a very courageous move, that might have been a very bold move, but I found it as a very necessary move. That there are people out there who who I thought it was time for me to see them the way they are, and I wanted them to see me as who I am. Otherwise, what am I going to, I'm putting in my bio saying I help you be unapologetically yourself. For that, I have to first embody that. if I keep running back to my comfort zone, if I keep running back to the the designation that I find comforting, and if I say I help you with being unapologetically yourself, I didn't see the match that was happening. So what I'm trying to say is, you hold space in a manner where it creates that change. It facilitates, it births that change very organically, instead of, I mean, I've never heard you say, even in one call, saying, Akshay, you should do this, you should not do this. There was no sort of vocabulary like that you used. There was always, how do you think about this? What do you think about this? So I had so much uh, autonomy uh, to make my decisions, to say, okay, Ashu, I think I'll take this. I don't think I'm going to use this. I'll try this. So there was a lot of decision making that I was able to do inside a business coaching container, which was so different. And because the authoritative figures, or people that who have a hierarchy where they are the facilitators and we are the recipients. So I was the recipient. The relationship has always been like, they say, I listen. And there was no space for me to even voice out an opinion, a suggestion. It was considered as I am talking back. It was considered as I am being too bold or too whatever. And here you were telling me that, okay, you tell me what you want to do. You tell me how you want to do this. It was all like, okay, fine. Am I really taking charge of this kind of thing? So I think all of these things is what helped me to, how it helped me to become what I am.
I am so honored that you've shared this, because wow, I love it. And I forgot to mention this point before, but I love that you said it's not about the likes, engagements, and everything. You're here to run a business. So business comes in two aspects. From the spiritual aspect, it's about impact. And impact will happen when you put the message out there and leave it there instead of deleting or archiving it. And from a logical or third worldly sense, it's about making money in transactions on a regular basis, the typical definition of a business. And if you're making sales from your content, it doesn't matter what engagement, unless you're trying to be a content creator and an influencer, which is a different deal. So you could choose what you want, but be very clear on what it is that you're doing. And another thing that I love that you said is the way you've explained everything. It just shows, and it is a very good reflection for me to look at my containers as a space for you to run around and change your programming with authority. Because a lot of programming around authority, especially from people who are women from India, you do not speak up. You're supposed to be a good girl. You're supposed to be quiet. You better not let me hear your breathing sounds even.
Yes.
That's, you don't cry, you don't sing, your throat does not exist, basically.
Yes.
So it becomes like a space. I am seeing my coaching container as a space where you are rewiring that programming, because it's not
Absolutely.
going to serve you in a business space.
Absolutely. There's so much space for me to actually rethink. See, there was no direct training on limiting beliefs. There was no direct training, but you made it in a way where it was so subconscious, it was so empowering that I didn't want to hold on to those beliefs anymore. It was a very, very conscious choice that you navigated me towards. I won't even say pushed me. You just showed me that there is a path like this, there is a thinking that you might want to look at. And then I was just there, and the minute I went in that part, I never wanted to look back.
That makes so much sense, because there's so many limiting belief trainings out there. Write your belief, flip it, repeat it as an affirmation. But there are different ways to change limiting beliefs. It's not about just flipping and repeating an affirmation, but it's also about experiencing it firsthand in a safe space, in a container where you will not be judged, and to practice it on repeat for 12 weeks in your case. And let's say someone is signing up for 5 months, 20 weeks in their case. It just shifts every single molecule in your body.
Yes, you don't identify who you were before that. You can't recognize that person, and you wonder, why didn't I do this earlier?
I love that. So, what is one thing you would say to someone listening to this who is putting that tape of self censorship on themselves and not creating the offers, content, marketing, launches, graphics, whatever it is that they want to?
If if they are someone who knows the idea of self-love, then I would tie this to the idea of self-love. If you really love yourself, if you really love the offers that you put out, if you really love the way your business makes sense to others, even if you have one client testimonial, even if you have one person who has ever told you that your work, your words have impacted me, then that is enough amount of proof that you should start showing up as yourself, because any other thing is not just worth it. It's just blatant unkindness to box yourself, to minimize yourself, to dim yourself so that someone else is feeling good. Someone else. There's this. I'm a big fan of Grey's Anatomy, the series, and in that there's this a very powerful, very beautiful dialogue. One best friend says to the other that, talking about her boyfriend, saying he might be very dreamy, but he's not the son you are. So that's
That,
something
oh my God,
that just
that's such a good
it's,
one.
yeah. So nobody should ever have to dim their light, even if it is about content, even if it is about graphics. They need to put out who they are out there, because the content is nothing but your thought process. How you think is how it reflects on words. So whatever that you thought of while you wanted to create that post needs to reflect inside the content, be it the graphics that you want to put. Maybe you wanted a butterfly in the corner of the post, put it there. Nobody's going to, it doesn't matter what people think. It doesn't matter if people think, oh, that butterfly was too much. Let them say it's okay. Detach yourself. Again, there should be a lot of involvement, love with their content, because it is a part of them. At the same time, once you've put it out there, you will need to find the courage to detach yourself from it energetically, in a manner like, okay, now that it's like sending the child off to school or college, and okay, you're now out there. It is up to you. You're going to take care of yourself. I'm going to work on the next kid. So seeing each content piece, I'm not a mom, but I'm just saying, seeing each content piece as a child, you nourish it, you take care of it, and once it's out and up and about, you leave it to be whatever that it wants to be, and you start working on the next thing. I think that will be a better uh, way of looking at content, instead of trying to be like, okay, how many people have liked it? Have I done too much? Should I have changed the colors?
Yes. Let's take the same example and put it in that context. It's like a parent who is like, My respect depends on what you do." So constantly helicopter parenting and keeping tabs on the decisions that it's
No, it's
making.
enough that our parents have done that to us. We don't have to do it to our energetic children as content or offers. We should not be doing that to them. We know, as you know, we are first-hand recipients of how suffocating sometimes it might look. And no, I mean, no hurt to my parents. I love them, but sometimes it gets too much, and
Absolutely.
we know what it is, and we should not be doing it to our business, to our content, to anything. So I think just looking at each content piece as children, as something that you want to take care, and then leave it for its own to just grow and be what it is, I think will be a better idea.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that thing about self-censorship, how to remove the tape, how to be yourself, and you being a living embodiment of that, and how you've come to this point. I am loving this conversation and can't wait for it to go up. I would love for you to share, how can someone work with you, find you? What is it that you offer? I know you shared a lot of things that you offer, so maybe just go with, how can someone work with you and find you?
Yes. The easiest thing that somebody can work with me, or the first thing to get a taste of my energy, is by getting an intuitive reading from me. If they are spiritually inclined, or if they want to get some guidance or clarity on something that they don't know where to start or how to do. There's also this standalone coaching calls that I offer, which is like 45 minutes of coaching. They can book one call, or at a stretch, they can book three calls. And that is something that they can, try before wanting to commit to a longer time of 12 weeks. There is my one to one, which is getting but it's not yet out. Like after I've stepped into this intuitive mentor uh, avatar of mine, I wanted to change up things with my one-to-one coaching as well, because again, if it is not just like I'm removing the life coach tag and putting something else. It is everything that's changing. So the 12-week one-to-one container is still in the process of being out there, which will be here by the end of the year, is what I'm thinking.
So I think it will be there when this
Yeah.
podcast is going up, or it's almost there. So
Yeah.
you go ahead and reach out to
And
people.
any which ways, people just can keep an eye out on my Instagram and check out whenever it's there, because once it's there, they'll know. They won't have to search for it. They'll
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
that it's out
That
there.
means she's telling you go follow her Instagram, which will be linked in the show notes. Thank you so much, Akshaya, for coming on the podcast. It was truly an honor to have you on the podcast and as a client that I have worked with.
Thank you so much, Ashu. It means a lot to have worked with you, to have been in this podcast talking. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you to the listener for tuning into your Spiritual Business Coach podcast and for listening to this episode. You've made it till the end of this episode, which means you have received a lot of universal codes that were packed into this episode. So take time to receive and let them get coded in your soul. And if you're feeling a little too generous, I would love for you to drop me a review or rating on whatever platform you're listening this on. If you feel the nudge to tell me what you felt about this episode or to inquire how you can work with me, drop me a message on Instagram at Listening Stories Untold, and I will see you in the next episode.